Hello, my name is Isabel Coen and I qualified as a vet in 2015, and I worked briefly in Ireland and then I travelled over to upstate New York where I worked for 12 months in a large veterinary practice, predominantly farm animal and predominantly dairy. Then I returned to Ireland in 2017 and came to Tipperary where I ultimately settled and worked in, again, farm animal practice. And now I'm working in Mitchelstown in James Dunne Veterinary with nearly the last 2 years, again as a 100% farm animal vet and predominantly dairy clientele.
So my name is Ciaran Sheehan. I'm from Mitchelstown, County Cork. We're both dairy farming and pig farming here. We have 104 cows here and we are a fully integrated pig unit. I also went to UCD and I did egg science in Dublin. I spent my time also for Dublin for a couple of years also.
So what I enjoy most and probably least about being a vet is just the kind of unpredictability and the variety that every day brings. When you wake up in the morning and you drive to work, you just never know what the day is going to bring. So there's a bit of an adrenaline buzz associated with that, but equally, if you've had a tough night on call, sometimes, it can be tough going. You just want a standard routine day, but there's great job satisfaction and yeah, it's just a lovely job, yeah.
The most rewarding thing about farming is seeing the new technologies come in place and also seeing young stock and livestock thrive. Seeing a nice shiny coat on calves would be one of the best things, seeing when you're rearing young calves, but also the technologies that come into place, like even calf feeders, automatic calf feeders, sex semen, because sex semen has changed the game completely. With you can have more beef calves, adding value to your calves, and you have less Holstein Friesian bulls.
So probably the three most important elements I would say to get right for rearing healthy calves would be their environment, the nutrition, and then also how quick you act on potential problems. So if you see a calf off form, if you see a calf that's slow to come to the feeder, it's really important to just act quickly rather than saying, oh, I'll see how he is at the next feeder, I'll see how he is tomorrow. So they would probably be the three fundamentals: get your environment right, get the nutrition right, and then act quick if you think something is going wrong.
I suppose it goes to the very basics, like the first most important thing is the colostrum intake. Colostrum intake and the correct amount at the start and at the correct time is extremely important. Ideally, a calf would want to get 4 litres of colostrum within its first 4 hours of live birth. Then secondly is for us, and what a lot of farmers should feel, is the bedding. The correct bedding for a calf allows the calf to feel snug and get the right body temperature up for the calf. Like a calf loses body weight at any temperature below 15 degrees Celsius, so it's important that if you have the right bedding, that you get that the calf is nice and snug and thrives well. So the third most important thing is the hygiene of the milk feeders, that ensuring that they're clean and cleaned properly, and that you're using the correct soap or acid or whatever, and making sure they're well rinsed out.
Probably don't overcomplicate it. I think keep the basics right. Again, as I said, if you keep them warm, you keep them dry, you keep them well fed, you'll manage a lot of other problems. And even if they do get sick, if you can keep those three right, they'll bounce back a lot quicker, and you won't lose as much thrive off of them if you can just always keep those basics right.
So the most important thing I've learned through calf rearing is drying the calf feeders out. So we feed out our calves in 10 calf batches in 10 milk bars, and single troughs as well, and single pins. So we like to make sure that the calf feeder is dried out before it is used again. And we found that we had an incident before where we used to just leave the acid water sit inside the milk feeders. It would be soapy water, it would be clean water, but we'd leave it sit inside the milk feeders, squeeze out the teats that are feeding out the calves, and we actually weren't getting rid of all the bacteria that was there. So it was very important to dry out the calf feeders, and you might have less problems with the calves.
So it took me a while to kind of fully understand or to get my head around it, but definitely as long as you try your best, that's all you can really expect of yourself. No matter what, things aren't always going to go right, and even though you do give them your all and that you do give them your best shot, you know, sometimes it's just not going to be the outcome you want, and unfortunately that's life, and that's okay. But as long as you can walk away from a situation and say, I did my best, you can't expect much more from yourself, really.
So the best piece of advice I received, I suppose you call it work or life, it was in both situations. I was given or told this: if I don't like the way something looks, change the way it looks. And if you don't like the way it looks and you can't change it, change the way you look at it, basically. So that comes with anything in life nearly. So that comes with work, or even work, or even social life, or general life in general. But also another thing I learned from work is when you're going about to do something, always have a plan in place, because when you have a plan in place, you get things done, I wouldn't say 10 times faster, but you get them done faster.
I have terrible taste, I feel, in TV programs, probably like on a veterinary or an agricultural basis. In terms of podcasts, I love the Room and Room podcast. It's a New Zealand vet, Charlotte Westwood, and I find it really easy listening, really informative, and that's a really good one. And then outside of veterinary, I'm a massive crime junkies, true crime fan, so any kind of crime podcast, I'm all for it.
So the most rewarding thing is seeing calves go to grass and seeing them thrive and no problems going out to grass. You know, if you've no summer scour syndrome or coccidiosis or anything like that, and you're seeing calves go out and they're thriving out in grass, they're eating grass, and you have no calf problems. But then at the overall performance, when you have good weaned calves at the end of it all, you probably will have a cow or a beef calf performing throughout its lifetime. It will give you either more milk or put on more meat for at the end of the day.
So this was one that was told to me or said to me very early in my career, and I didn't really listen to it. It was a vet that I worked with in Tipperary, and he used to always say to me, have you stopped for lunch? And it's such a small thing in the day, but everything seems worse and harder when you're hungry. So even just to make time to stop for a cup of tea, to stop for a bite to eat, if the day is manic, it'll make all the difference for how you cope with anything that might come your way throughout the rest of the day. So
one thing I like to do is travel around this aisle and see what the beauty of this aisle holds. You can see as plenty of things throughout this island. And another thing is then I also like to go to concerts, and I'm an avid music listener, and I like to listen to different type of music, and basically there are two things that I find de-stress and take my mind away from farming. But I also like to, another hobby I like to do is look at cows in the countryside anyways, and grade other cows and compare them to my own. So there's definitely a role for products like precision microbes. I think obviously they can't replace good management, but you know, in situations where you're going to have stress on animals, be it weather-related stresses, be it feed-related stresses, I think they definitely play an important role in maintaining the gut microbiome. The one thing that people kind of don't misunderstand about farming is that the environmental actions that some farmers, or the majority of farmers, are taking, like we're using, obviously everyone's heard of less slurry spreading emissions, but other actions we're taking that it goes unheard of or unseen is planting trees on our ditches, or planting trees, or rewilding our ditches, or maybe we're not cutting them every year now, we might put them every 3 years, leave them grow out for the environment, and that's capturing more carbon emissions. But even then on farm, then ourselves, on practical farm and farmyard ourselves, you can see farmers now putting up solar panels, reducing their energy costs and reducing their energy usage to the grid. And we're also, like, there's another example of is like in the milk parlour itself, we're using larger milk coolers and variable speed drive pumps, which are all reducing our technically our environmental emissions, but also our energy usage. Yes, I feel like a lot of these moments, they're kind of you had to be there moments, but one moment that I always think back to, and I'm still really good friends with the vet that was involved, and we often laugh about it, was when I was recently qualified. I went out to a goat that was kidding,
And my friend, who was also a vet, came with me, but she had broken her ankle, so she was in a boot. So she was only so much help to me. So when we got there, we had to wade across a river, and the farmer offered to give her a piggyback, but she declined. She said she'd stay on one side. And I went into the shed, and I had lambed plenty of ewes before, but I had never assisted a goat kidding. And anyway, I pulled the first kid out, and the most intelligent thing I could think to say at the time was, "Oh my God, Anne, it has horns." And I'd say the farmer was thinking, what? She never seen a young kid, but it was definitely one of those moments where I said I should have said that in my head and not out loud. But we do often think back to it and think we've come a long way from that stage. But all was well that ends well, and we had 4 healthy kids come out of the goats. So that was a good ending story, and a really satisfying case as well.
When you're going through tough times, I always think of the reward at the end of it, whether it be you're going through a size problem with cows, or you're going through a scour problem with the calves. Always think of the reward at the end of it. There's always a way out of it. And just when you're going about doing something in a challenging time, take a minute or take a step back. Just walk away for a couple of minutes to de-stress, take your mind off the problem, and then you'll come back and you'll hit the problem a lot better, or you'll challenge the problem a lot better.
So I would say it's really important to have, I think you'd agree, Ciaran, to have a really good, I guess, understanding of the system that you're running, what you're currently doing in terms of your practices around calf management. I definitely feel like if I don't know what you're doing, then if you come to me with a problem, I guess I can't really help you until I understand the steps of the process. And I guess to have that trust and respect that goes obviously both ways, that would probably be one of the more important things.
Yeah, I would have to agree with Isabel there. Just communication, strong communication with the vet, and explain to them what they're doing on your farm, if you made any changes recently, and to trust the process of what they do, and also to trust whatever their plan is, or their advice is to do. Maybe to take it on board and to take heed to it.
Definitely. You might have to nag us a little bit, especially in the busy period, just to kind of, remind us to do things. But again, if you want certain tests done or you want something investigated, I think it's really important that you can trust us to do that we'll come back to you with results, and that we'll give you a plan of action based on what those results are.
Yeah.